Um, okay, well, welcome everyone. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk for very long. I know you're here to listen to Tony's lovely tones. So I just wanted to really quickly introduce myself, Michael Lloyd, the MD at Nuvola, and really just to say to everyone, and thanks for joining us. But also just to say there's a few more people within the live action team at Nuvola which are there to help your every needs. Obviously, Tony is going to be running the show today, technical consultants and Nuvola around live action side of things and other products that fit in our intelligent networking team. And then most of you, I'm sure, know Miri, who has the relationship with most of you guys out there. Working alongside her is Mark, who again you probably interacted with when Miri's been away or vice versa. So Mark and Miri work very closely together. Then there's a couple of other additions in the team, Angelica and Rachel. So these ladies support Miri and Mark in the support side of things, the processing of orders, tracking of orders, ensuring the renewals are up to date. So, we've got quite a large team to help you within looking after the live action product portfolio. So anytime one of them is not around, there's many others there who can help you. And we're building this team. We want to make your life easier. And then finally, we've got Katrina, who has put this webinar together. And she's there as a resource for you all. So she works with the live action team in the States around the marketing side of things, making sure our message is correct, making sure that if there's any new message coming out, she's there to help you put together campaigns for your own end users. So obviously as a distributor, we don't deal with any end users. We make that clear. We've got a very clear channel strategy. We only work with resellers. So that should give you quite a lot of comfort when it comes to dealing with end users, that you know that you can call upon us safely and securely, and we can then work with you to ensure we get the job done. And that includes Tony and Miri Mark on the technical side of things and the commercials, who can work with you to ensure that you will get the deals done. So I'm going to now hand over to Tony. Enjoy the webinar, and I'll let Tony run it through to the end.
So thank you, Michael. Thank you for the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. It's Tony here, Tony Coombs. I think most of you know me. I've been in the industry for quite a few years now, working for various networking companies. Together with Mark Highland, we go back quite a few years, back to the BICC days, but that's a long story. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of how to really audit your network or your customers' networks using the tools available from LiveAction. This is going to be a two-part meeting, very brief presentation. I don't want to spend too much time on slides. And then we're going to dive into the actual demonstration. So I'm going to show you some of the key tools that we have available for us from LiveAction, particularly the LiveNX management platform, which provides all the analytics that you need for managing, baselining your network. I think this is today with what's going on in the world, particularly with the virus, particularly with a lot of people working at home now. The network trends within organizations have changed significantly. For example, there's, with more and more people working at home, there's going to be less people in the office. But conversely, there's going to be more people working from home, maybe having VPN connections connecting into the office network, which may make put a strain on the wide area network and the VPN network. So a key part of this is understanding, these changes and using the tools that are available from LiveAction to help optimize the network during this time. Okay. So this is the basic agenda, quick overview, and then we'll go into the demonstration of the tools. Some of this you may have seen before because I've covered some of this in my previous presentation back in March, I think it was. But there's a lot of new stuff in here as well. Can I just say, there's a lot to cover today. If you do have any questions, please use the chat window. And if I've got time, I will try and answer towards the end. If not, we will collect all the questions and we will put them into a document and provide the answers and share them with you afterwards. So feel free to ask questions. Right, let's kick off. So the first thing I wanted to introduce is the network lifecycle opportunity. So what is all this about? This is all about really, planning your network, planning your customers' network, looking at today what's happening on the network, looking at any changes that may be happening, looking at trends, those sort of things, analyzing your network to see what changes you need to make. Maybe, for example, a company is thinking of, moving towards SD-WAN as a technology for their wide area network. And so before they do that, one of the key aspects of SD-WAN is that you can provide what we call application-aware routing or forwarding. So you can have different applications running on different paths through the network, which helps them to prioritize and maybe segment them from lower priority applications. So in order to set up your application-aware networking, you need to understand what applications are running and what sort of performance they are using, what is their latency, what is the characteristics of these applications across the network. So the first part of the network lifecycle really is just doing the auditing, which is what I'm really covering today, which is understanding the traffic patterns and the application patterns across the network. And then once you've got that data, once you've done that analysis, then you can then move on to the next step. So if you are planning network upgrades, or your customers are planning network upgrades, then you can take that data that we've captured, and then you can optimize or change your network appropriately. Okay, so that's really the deploy and then the verification. So you update the network, you make the changes. Maybe, as I said, there may be more VPN users nowadays. So, you've upgraded your wide area network circuits, you've updated your VPN concentrators, and now you can now monitor those to see how they perform. And then once you've validated that, then the next step is really ongoing operations, which is just to constantly validate the network to make sure that everything is working as you would expect, and so on. So in terms of auditing, this is what I'm going to be looking at today. This is just some aspects of network auditing. There's a number of areas you want to look at. Obviously, the baseline would be to validate the network, the actual routers, switches, the wide area, the local area network. Look at the capacity, look at the trends there, make sure that everything is running as you would expect. So validate that. Look at site-to-site connectivity. Which sites, which links are having highest traffic utilization? And once you've done that, the next step is then to look at the applications. And this is really probably one of the most critical sides, because especially if you're using voice and video over IP, and again, I come back to today's world where we're, like today on this call here, where we're in a conference call, and this is all running over the internet and over people's corporate networks. you need to validate that to make sure that it's working correctly. Okay, so we'll look at how this can be done, the applications. A key aspect is quality of service and also the queues on your routers. So are your voice and video applications set up for the correct quality of service? If not, where are they not set up correctly? In parallel with that, you've also got to make sure that the routers and the switches and the firewalls in the network have the correct configuration for the quality of service, the correct queuing, so that they are prioritizing the traffic as it ingresses interfaces. Okay, so that's another aspect I'll look at. And then the other part, which is something new, which I've not talked about before on these sessions, is user experience. So LiveAction has a optional toolset called UX, Live UX, which provides application performance and response time measurement. And this is a proactive tool where you deploy agents out into the network, maybe on virtual machines, for example, and then you can actually test the user experience across the network. You can test the response time for Salesforce.com or for Office 365, and you can look at what sort of responses are the users seeing from their sites. So this is another valid area. I showed this diagram at my last session. So this is a typical enterprise network. You've got your data center here with your spine and leaf switch network. You've got your virtualization there with apps, etc. Then you've got your campus network over here in the middle, and then your remote sites, your remote offices and your home offices. Now, we've gone backwards, sorry. With this type of network, you can deploy different tools. You can, if you have the right switches and routers within the network, you can enable them to provide NetFlow, okay? Export NetFlow records. So NetFlow is a measurement technique which is available on most switches and enterprise class switches and routers today, which measure applications, measure throughput, measure different parameters of the network as the packets pass through these devices, and then reports that data back to a centralized management system. And so if your customers have routers and switches with NetFlow, this information can be reported back to a, it's doing it again. Why is it doing this? Going back to a LiveNX server, which I'll introduce in a couple of minutes. If you don't have that, or a complementary solution to that is LiveAction also has their appliances, which can be deployed in different parts of the networks. These are the, for those of you who remember Savius, Savius was acquired by LiveAction a couple of years ago. These are the appliances that Savius originally developed, and now they've brought out a next generation set of appliances called LiveWires, which provide the packet capture capability that Savius always has had, okay? But they now have this value add where they also export the data that they've captured as NetFlow records, so that that information can be reported back to the LiveNX server. The benefits of these appliances is really twofold. First of all, they can be, they can provide that data that you need to do the analysis. And secondly, as I said, they do the packet capture as well, which means that when things become very, let's say, when there's difficult problems to solve, then the best way to look at that is to use packet capture analysis and use the expert analysis capabilities that come with these appliances, especially using the OmniPeak protocol analysis tool over there. So I'm not going to spend time on this, but as you can see, you've got a range of different appliances here which can be deployed around the network. This guy here, the small one, is perfect for remote sites, but also perfect for POCs, or if you want to do auditing for a customer, you can drop these into a network. You can copy the data flows to these, and then they can provide all that reporting that I talked about a few minutes ago. Right, let's go to the demo. Okay, I'll just close this. Excuse me. So hopefully you can see this screen. Just make it a bit bigger. Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. So I'm actually connecting to a LiveNX server over in California. I've decided we have our own demo systems as well, but for this particular one, there's some interesting traffic flows which I wanted to show you today. So I've decided to use this one. Just a word of warning, sometimes some of the screen refreshes may be a little bit slow, but this is down to the distance, and I believe the internet is rather busy nowadays, so that's probably some of the reasons. Okay, so I'm not going to give a full overview of LiveNX. I did that last time, okay, but I'll show you some of the key aspects here. So, you know, it's a web-based interface. You know, you can use any browser. I'm using Safari at the moment. You can, if you click on this menu here, then you can see that we have this hierarchical top-down options here, where we can start with some dashboards, we can drill down to sites, we can look at devices, interfaces, applications, and so on. Okay, so this is one area where you can get interactive information about what's happening on your network. Then we have some topologies. You know, I'll show you a topology in a few minutes. You need a topology, of course, to visualize the network setup. Then we have what we call stories, and this is where the deep analysis tools can be used to generate some interesting information for you. For example, WAN capacity planning. So, you know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, if the wide area network is changing because of the different usage, because of people now connecting more remotely, then let's see how the wide area network links are performing. Are they increasing? Is there no impact? You know, what's happening? So we can you know, look at that in a few minutes. Of course, there's reporting tools as well. I'll show you some of this as well. Some of the reports that you can use to explain and save, you know, the information to share for others. Okay, but let me start with, and of course down here we've got configuration as well. This is where you would add devices into the network. It's pretty much like any network management tool out there. You know, you define sites, you know, you discover the devices, and then once they're discovered, then you can configure them here. Okay, I'm going to go straight back now to topology. So the first one I want to show you is logical topology. Now I've preloaded some of these screens, so if I click that, that will open this screen here. So this shows you the topology of the network that we're managing today. Okay, so it's a network all being managed by LiveNX. You've got a data center, you've got all of these sites here. Okay, this is it's a lively screen. it's moving around. This is a nice interactive display because it shows the sites. It shows some are green, some are red. If you click on any of these icons here, you'll get the reason why they've gone red. So here you can see some recent alerts that this one here is Ethernet port is over 96% utilization. Okay, so any of this you can click on to drill down on. Okay, right, and most of this has a click-through capability. Now, what I'm looking at here, I think I changed my mouse. I think my mouse has got a mind of its own today. Let me plug my other mouse in. Sorry about this, guys. Right. Can you see my screen? Let me just...
Yes, can see it.
Has it gone distorted?
Let's see.
Let me just stop share for a second. Sorry, guys. Normal services will be resumed. Ah, here we go. Stop share. Right, let's share again. Right, we're back. Sorry about that. Not a good idea to change hardware in the middle of a demo. So, so this is the topology that I was explaining earlier. Now, here we've got some flows running over these links, okay? And if you hover over these, you can see they're all about quality of service. So you can see which flows are set for the different quality of service. And again, you can drill down if you wanted to. This display can be modified quite quickly. If I just click on, EF, for example, this shows all the flows which are set up for DivServ CodePoint EF. So what does that mean? Well, that's the class of service, a quality of service that would normally be used for voice. Is normally the highest priority class of service. And so most voice applications should be set up to use that. And if they're not set up for that, then it could mean that the voice traffic can get delayed within the network behind non-critical traffic. So if someone's doing a file transfer, for example, that can slow down the voice, causing jitter, causing packet loss, causing delay. And so understanding quality of service is really important. So I can see straight away here that some of these sites, Sydney and Tokyo, are not set up for DivServ CodePoint EF. So I can view this from that point of view. I can also view this from the WAN application point of view as well. Okay, and then if I minimize this a bit, move it around, you can see, for example, if I want to see where is the voice running? Well, the voice is running on those links, so that's good. So that's a good confirmation straight away that the reason why we haven't got any class of service set up here for voice is because there isn't any voice there. Okay, so we've already validated that that's probably okay then in terms of the network. Okay, so we can click on any of these links. You can see the key applications. Where are they running? This is Outlook. That's Skype. Okay, so Skype's running as well. Okay, so we have some YouTube as well. So someone's using YouTube as well on the network. Okay, so this is just really a high-end graphical tool. It's not, you know, the most powerful tool at this point. Okay, but it gives you a quick overview of what's happening on the network. from a topology perspective. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to stories now, because I want to talk about the capacity, the WAN, the capacity planning for the WAN. And we have three options here. We can look at availability, that's the uptime. We can look at the utilization, which is a real-time display of the utilization of the network as it's polled by LiveAction. Or we can look at capacity planning, which is really one of the key tools that I would use right now for network planning. You know, how are the links performing? How were they performing in the past? Are they exceeding their agreed bandwidths? Okay, so if I click on that, and I've already preloaded it, I see, I can go to WAN Capacity Planning tab over here. So this shows you all of the sites, okay, the service providers. Most of them are on the MPLS links, but there are some on internet. The routers, the switches, the interfaces for each of the sites for the wide area network, some descriptions, the directions out and in, and then the capacity here. Now this is an important point here. This is the capacity that maybe the customers agreed with their service provider for the links that they're using. So, you know, if, for example, the customer's using an MPLS network from British Telecom, British Telecom may provide 10 gig links to provide the connectivity, but they may only agree on providing maybe 200 kilobits per second throughput on those links. And if any traffic exceeds that, then that will be an extra billable charge for the customer. Okay, so that's how that sometimes works. Okay, and you can see here that we've got 3 sites, Birmingham, Austin, and Madison, where they have been exceeding the capacity of those links. Now I can click on any of these. This is on a monthly basis. So what LiveAction solution is doing here is taking all that data, it's monitoring the links over a monthly basis, and then it's correlating that, and it's coming up with these calculations to show you what is the utilization that's been hit over that period. I'm going to click on May. It might take a second to refresh. So bearing in mind, I'm connecting to a server over in San Francisco. There we go. That wasn't too bad. So what this has now done is we've now drilled down on that interface on that particular month, and then we can now see the general performance over time. So you've got average throughput in kilobits per second, okay, in both directions, inbound, so outbound and inbound, okay. You've got the average throughput, then you have what we call the 95th, the 99th, and the peak bandwidth. So the 95th percentile bandwidth is a measurement that most service providers use to calculate if you're, what they do is they basically, with the 95th percentile bandwidth, they ignore 5% of the time when you exceed the bandwidth, okay, and then you average it, the value. So you can see here that although the average is just over 100, nearly 120 kilobits per second, it's peaking at 139. And then over here, the true peak is 200. So what we can see here already is that those links are exceeding the bandwidth allocation that's been provisioned for them. Now we can go down, we can look at the queues. These are the different queues on the interface. We can see the utilization for the queues, okay, which is useful. And then down here, which is where it becomes really interesting, is we can actually see the applications on those interfaces. So bearing in mind, we're looking at a particular router, we're looking at a particular WAN interface. We know that it's already starting to exceed its allocated bandwidth, but these are the applications that are over that period of time that are consuming that bandwidth. And we've got VoIP, we've got Citrix, we've got Skype, Skype for Business that is. We've got Outlook, but look, we've got Netflix here, we've got YouTube, we've got Facebook. These are non-critical business applications. These may be appearing on your network now because if a customer's VPN in from their home into the corporate network, and then they start watching Netflix during their coffee break or during their lunch break, or maybe even when they shouldn't be looking at it, that's going to start consuming bandwidth on the corporate network. And this could be a reason why the utilizations are starting to become higher. Now, if you wanted to drill down on that, the nice thing about the LiveNX solution is that you can right-click and then you can drill down. So I can drill down on Netflix as an application and I can say, see, top conversations. And that will pop up a report in a second from this site of all the IP addresses and what their utilization rates are for Netflix. So this gives you the tools, or the customer the tools to identify who is using Netflix and when and how much. Okay, and you can see that this particular user here, because it's sorted in total packets, is really the guy who's consuming quite a lot of Netflix. So that would be something worth checking on the network. So this is not really, I wouldn't say this is really, doing an audit on your network, to work out the trends of the network from a business perspective, but it gives you an indication of things that can be trimmed out of the network that shouldn't be there. Okay. Right, I'm going to move over to the next bit. I've got a nice use case which I like showing, and I'm going to just run through this. This is all about analyzing when applications are not performing correctly. So what I've done is I've opened up a dashboard. This dashboard is normally, it's this guy here. It's a dashboard which displays lots of different widgets. Okay, we have different tabs. Some of these are all predefined, these tabs. Okay, we've got Cisco WAN performance. I can't show you that at the moment because this network doesn't have Cisco WAN set up, but you can create your own tabs as well. And what this is useful for, this is a dashboard which allows you to visualize very quickly what's happening on your network, and you can modify these as you like. So we've got, the topology, which sites are, have problems. We've got the WAN utilization over here for each of the links. We've got bandwidth for the applications. more application information down here. Okay. This is looking at network and application latency and retransmissions and so on, and more stuff here about interfaces. If you wanted to add a widget, let's say I wanted that there's a couple of spare slots here. Let me add a widget. What should I add? What should I add as a widget? Anyone? Let's say if we want to look top devices with least availability, just click on that, and then that will pop up here. So you can see here that we've got two sites here where the availability is 0, but everything else is great. So it just shows you how quickly you can change these displays. Now, a lot of these displays you can click through. This is the one that I'm going to focus on right now. This is showing you the sites, the devices, and the applications which are critical, have a warning status, or good. So we've got some WAN apps here which are critical. Now, if I click on that, that will bring me up to this tab here, which I've already preloaded. So this is telling me that throughout the network, all those sites that you saw in that original topology, there are some apps here which are having problems. Voice is one of those. You can see it's critical. You can see by this red bullet here that it's to do with network performance. It's not application performance. So this is telling me that there's something wrong with the network for voice. What is it? So if I click on that, okay, it will take me to the next display. Actually, it'll be like this. I've opened it up. It will take me to the next display, which will, let's just make it a bit more useful, which gives you these tables and graphs here. So we've got, at the top here, we've got application performance. You can see that for voice, remember this is for voice, we're having high amounts of jitter and packet loss. This is the throughput rates are not particularly high. In fact, they're less than 1% utilization. But why are we getting this jitter and packet loss? Then we can, from a conversation perspective, inbound and outbound, we can look at each of the sessions, voice sessions. We can see their throughputs, okay? We've got their quality of service. Now, here's a clue. Remember I said that normally for voice over IP, you would normally have the quality of service set up for EF. Well, for most of the flows, 165 of them, they are. But for 45 of the flows, they're not. So there's something wrong with the provisioning within this network. Why is the voice not set up correctly for quality of service? Okay. And then down here, you've got all the different flows, okay, from a site perspective. And if I click on this one, for example, click on off some of these. Let's look at this one here. This is a voice over IP, 0 best effort from Louisville to New York. And look at the packet loss rate. It's quite high. So consistent packet loss over time. Okay. Let's close that then. Sorry, I meant this one. Let's look at the map. So I've expanded the map. Let's look at these links. Let's go to Austin. Let's go to this link here. A lot of these links are showing for voice, we're getting jitter and we're getting packet loss. So this is a confirmation. If the links were okay, they would be grey, but they're red. I'm going to click on this site, Austin. I'm going to see these are the most recent alerts. So you can see this alert here. Cross-class default drop rate was 43.22 kilobits per second. That means the queues on those interfaces are dropping voice traffic. If I click on the active alerts here, it will open up this side. Sorry, this one. So these are the alerts, okay? And I can see, for example, you can see that where the alerts are coming from, applications, devices. This is an application alert. Let me click on that one. This is saying that voice over IP has 20% of packet loss for traffic with a disk code point value of 46 EF. So the QoS is set up, but we're still losing packets. So why is that? When I clicked on this, it brought up this path here. If I click on that path, I can drill down further. In fact, I've got the path here already. But there you go, there's the path. And I can see that on this router, I am losing, it's red, I am losing, I've got jitter going in and out, and I've got packet loss rates for these interfaces. And if I click on the interfaces, which is this tab here, it will show me down here which queues are dropping packets. So in summary, I know that was a little bit long-winded, but that showed you a quick workthrough to identify from an alert on a dashboard all the way down to isolating what's going on. And we can see here that the queues on this particular interface are not set up correctly because they're set for a bit rate, an average bit rate, and the peak bit rate is exceeding that already. So those queues have not been provisioned correctly on that router. Now, if I wanted to, if I go back, I notice that there's a live wire here as well. So these are the appliances. So this live wire is in the path. And although we've proven that that voice connection has got a problem, we can still drill down even further if we wanted to, because with the integration of the appliances, we can actually connect to an appliance, a live wire appliance directly. We can give it, and we can do what we call forensic search. So we can actually look at the packets. Give it a name. This is the time frame. This is a this is what we call a filter for a forensic search, which is all pre-populated. I'll leave that as it is. These are all the analyst options that are available with OmniPeak. If I start that, then it will do a forensic search, and it will look at all the packets that have been captured to disk for that particular voice flow relating to that error, that alert that we originally received. And this is really just a way of really validating a bit more, you know, what's going on. You've got the packets here. Okay. This is the packet decodes. We can decode the packets if we wanted to. Really highly technical now. We don't need to do this, really. This is just showing you some of the additional tools. You've got the expert analysis here to show you that we've got late packet arrival for RTP. That's a confirmation that the packets are being delayed. RTP carries the voice traffic. RTP packets have to arrive within 30 milliseconds. If they arrive outside of 30 milliseconds, then you get delay and jitter in the voice call. You get, distortion in the quality of the call. So this is confirmation again that there's a problem there somewhere. I'll leave it at this, but then you've got an event summary just to confirm that there's extremely high amount of late packet arrivals for that. Okay, let me move on. Okay, I hope you found that bit useful. I'm going to come back to reporting in a little while, which is down here. Reporting. So I'll just preload that, but I'm going to bring over another browser window. And the reason I'm bringing this over is because I'm connecting to a separate LiveNX server, which has an optional module loaded to it. So this is, LiveNX. We saw this earlier. If I click up here, UX, this brings up a new set of optional tools that can be added to LiveNX to provide the user experience monitoring across the network. Okay, so this is this is not a reactive tool now, which is monitoring the flows in real time as they occur in the live network. This is a tool where you can set up tests across the network to simulate the user experience across the network. Okay, so for example, maybe you want to, across the different points of the network from the different sites, you want to set up different tool or tests to monitor the performance of these types of applications like Salesforce or Amazon or Office. Okay, and what we have here is a summary of the setup. We've got all these different sites where we've got agents running. These are agents which normally run within a virtual machine, okay, and are provisioned to do the testing. And we've got a summary here of the tests. 10 are good, 1 is critical, some have a warning status. These are the agents, most are okay, 1 is not in good state. Let me just show you how you set it up. Oh, let me refresh that. Sorry. I think that display went stale because it's been sitting for about an hour. Here we go. So what you do is you configure tests. So these are tests that have already been pre-configured. Let me take one. Let's take Salesforce. So that is Salesforce. That is what is set up. It's set up on all of these sites. Okay, gives you a summary now of the performance of Salesforce. Okay, most of it's looking good. Let me go back. Sorry, I meant to edit that, not view that. Let me go to edit over here. This is how you set up a test or modify a test, and it gives you a bit more indication of what we're trying to do here. You give it a name. You give it a URL, for example, in this case. If you're, let's say you want to monitor WebEx, for example, you'll give it a name of WebEx. You put the URL for WebEx for the meetings, which is normally meet.webex.com. Then you click on what type of additional testing you want to do, port numbers, the test frequency, and then you when you want to start and end, etc. And then down here on what agents you want to run that test. So we've selected all, okay. And then the frequency, how often do you want to run that test? Okay, so that's how you set up, very simple. And you can have almost as many as you like. Let's go back to home and show you the results of some of these tests. So we can see, for example, that Salesforce is having some response time issues. Actually, let's change the time period to 1 hour because it was set to last 15 minutes. Ah, here we go. Amazon. We've had some issues with Amazon. That's quite important. Let's click on that. So what this has now brought us to is a summary of the Amazon AWS performance testing from each of these sites. We can see here that the site that's having a problem is Tokyo, over there. Let's click on Tokyo. What's going on? Okay, so this is showing you over that period, you've got availability. So how frequently has the response been okay? We've had a drop there. We've got network latency is quite good. DNS latency has been high sometimes. And response time has been high sometimes. So this period of time here, at 15:10 in the last hour, we had an issue with Amazon. It's not a major issue. In fact, you can validate it by going to the next tab because this shows you the distribution accounts of how often you've had this problem. So the DNS latency, it only happened once. It says once. Whereas here, during that last hour, DNS lookups have been fine. You've got the network latency, response time, same sort of thing. These are the counts, okay? If you wanted to, you can do a path analysis too. Oops, it's been minimized. And this shows you the end-to-end flow from Tokyo, hope you can see that, across the internet to the site. So you've got all the intermediate hops. You can see where alternative hops take place. And this is basically a visualization. For those of you who know NS lookup, oh, sorry, traceroute, this is a visualization of traceroute. So this is, we just graphically displayed that for you. So very quick way there of visualizing user response time. Okay. Now, I'm just looking at the time. It's nearly top of the hour. So I just want to quickly show you reporting. I think we're going to run out of time today. Let me go to reporting. Okay. So a key part of auditing your network, going back to the original goal of this session, is to generate reports. You know, especially if you're doing if you're providing consultancy to a customer, or you're doing a POC, or maybe the customer's doing a trial for, or has already implemented LiveAction, that some people, or they will want to have reports, regular reports generated to show the performance of the network performance, the application performance, and in particular, what type of problems and errors you're seeing on the network. So this is the section within LiveNX where you can do that. Now we have a load of predefined reports which I could click on and start. So if I click on, what should we choose? This is code point, quas. Okay, brings up this display here where you can change the time period, you can send it as a PDF. There's all sorts of options here. You can optimize this report. You can add new additional reports to the initial report that you wanted to do, but let's just run this as a default, see what it brings us up. So I've not changed anything here. Oh, that was pretty quick. So this has given us a report of quality of service for the entire network over that period of time. So you've got all the different classes of services. You've got total flows and the statistics associated with those flows. You should be able to, at any point, if you wanted to drill down further, right click. This is what I showed you earlier on. So we can see, well, what applications are using best effort. So click on that, and then that will generate a second report for you. Okay. This might take a bit longer. So, as we saw earlier, there are some video calls and voice calls which are using best effort. So another validation. Now, if we wanted to, we can save this. We can download this as a report. So now when you find something like this, you can download it and you can save it as a PDF. Or you can share the URL to team members, that sort of thing. Now, what I want to show you is, finally, is my report here. This is a report I created this morning. This is a custom report I created using my own templates. So what I've done is it's for Skype. I want to monitor just the Skype traffic. Maybe in the current environment on this network, not all users are using Skype as a way of video conferencing. Not all users are getting the right performance that they should do. Okay, so I thought I'd generate a report for Skype to see what's going on. So we're looking at jitter by service provider. We're looking at conversations. We're looking at quality of service as well. I can add things. I'll show you one. What should we do? Top. What was I going to add? Top class jobs. So that's additional set of analytics that I've just added. Okay. And this is for the last 15 minutes. I can change it to whatever time frame. So, but let's just execute this and see what happens. Oh, I didn't save it. Sorry. So what's happening here? So sometimes this can take a second or two because LiveAction has a large database and all those records of net flow and SNMP, etc., are being uploaded and stored into a database. And when you generate a report, especially when you're generating a new report, you're having to go back in time, and you can and LiveAction has to correlate that data to generate the report for you. So sometimes it's pretty quick, but this is taking just a little bit longer than I would normally expect. And it could be because my internet's not brilliant, or it could be because my colleagues in the US have just gone online and they're starting to use the server, or even what happened the other day, they started to back up the server when I was using it. It's going to come. While we wait for that, because this is really the last display I've got anyway, just as a reminder, if you've got any questions, post them in the chat, and then what I'll do is I'll respond to those afterwards in a Q&A. And also, the other thing is, if you want more details, I know I've rushed through this today. We've not really had enough time. I think I'm going to give up on this report. But if you want a one-to-one demo and you want me to drill down into more details, or you want me to, for example, show you how to set up LiveAction, especially if you want to do a POC with a customer, then let us know, and then we can set up a session, and I can go through that with you. So here's the report. Eventually, it took much longer than I was expecting. So here we've got, it's my Skype report. We've got the different flows from the different sites. You've got the jitter for each site. So again, this is all interactive. You can switch things on and off. So there's been quite a bit of jitter for some of these sites. These are the conversations, okay, for each of the Skype sessions. And again, we're looking at quality of service again. Look, we can see that some of these have not been set up for quality of service. So that's probably why there's some jitter issues. And this is the last bit I added also. This is the queues on the different devices, the egress queues on the routers and switches. There's actually 10 pages of this, you can see. And you can use this to analyze the status of each of the queues. Okay. So with that, oh, we've gone past the hour. I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. I hope you all found this interesting. Thank you very much for your patience. And like I said, if you've got any questions, let us know. If you want more details, if you want a one-to-one demo, or you want help with a POC or positioning the solution to your customers, just let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you. So with that, I hope it's helpful. Everyone stay safe, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you very much.